Alrighty, UFC Fight Night, Jared Cannonier versus Imavov. Main card fight predictions. Here we go. Okay, so for the first fight of the main card, we have a welterweight bout. Miguel Baeza versus Soriano. For this fight, I do favor Baeza right off the bat. He does have clean, straight strikes. He tends to throw in combinations. He's ferocious, and he likes to get in there. Baeza is one of those fighters that when I first saw him fight in the UFC, I wasn't too impressed, especially with the striking, because he only went for the home runs with a straight cross. Never set it up. But in his last fight against Fialho, a fight that he lost in the first round, an exciting fight at that, I definitely saw an improvement. He started setting it up with jabs. He picked it more carefully. Even the way he threw his right cross down the pipe was more accurate. It was more straight, faster. Soriano, on the other hand, I'm not impressed. I actually don't even think he's UFC caliber. His latest fight against Stoltzfus, the guy just goes for the haymaker. Same thing almost as Baeza in Baeza's early fights. This guy just throws his cross, which is his left hand, but never really sets it up. He just kind of depends that and hopes that someone will run into it. Not only did he kind of get outstruck by Stoltzfus, which is not even that great of a fighter himself, but he got out wrestled, picked up, and ragdolled. I heavily favor Baeza. He has the faster, cleaner strikes, the more powerful strikes. And he's actually very aggressive. I mean, Baeza likes to get in there, slowly stalk you and unload on you. And I just don't see how Soriano's going to be able to beat him to the punch, be faster than him, or even land a knockout punch. Baeza by KO. For our second fight of the evening, we have a middleweight bout between Julian Marquez and Zachary Reese. Unfortunately for Reese, we didn't get to see too much out of him when he fought Cody Brundage. He got KO'd in the first round within a minute with a power bomb. In that short minute, I can't say a couple things. One, Cody Brundage unleashed a combo that Reese did not react well to. And two is that although he did get knocked out by getting slammed after throwing and sinking in a triangle choke, he is very active off his back. I will say that. Unfortunately, from what I saw, especially when Cody Brundage threw a combination, Julian Marquez is a fun fighter that likes to bring the action and throw combinations. For this fight, I do favor Julian Marquez. He's been in a few wars and he's done pretty decent despite his losses. He still performs, he's still aggressive, and the guy's a banger. For our third fight, we stay at the middleweight division. We have a fight between Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Bruno Ferreira's last fight against Phil Haas was such a fun banger of a fight. The dude has power, vicious power in everything. His cross, his knees, his head kicks. It looked like his opponent, Phil Haas, at one point was being able, he was able to absorb a couple, but man, did Bruno eventually put him away in vicious style. And what I like about Bruno's style as well is that he mixes it up. Again, if he sees you hurt, you got to worry about the punches, you got to worry about flying knees, head kicks. I mean, this guy brings a huge arsenal in his strikes. Dustin Stoltzfus. His last fight was actually against Soriano, and he was able to look good because Soriano's not a good fighter. Just 2 fights ago against Magomedov, he got finished in about 20 seconds. And on his last fight against like a D.C. level fighter in Soriano, I mean, he was getting touched and hurt. His knees buckled quite a few times throughout the fights. Now, he didn't get finished, thankfully, and he was able to showcase more of his skill sets. Some strikes, some good body kicks of his own, and definitely some amazing takedowns off the single. Despite being able to showcase more of his skills and tools, I just think Ferreira's gonna win by knockout first or second round. As I mentioned, Stoltzfus is just too stiff. Rarely moves his head off the center, and win or loss, he always gets clipped. Fourth fight of the evening, we go to the bantamweights. Raul Rosas versus Ricky Turcios. To start off on this one, I do not like Ricky Turcios' fighting style. I think he's just too sloppy, too chaotic, not very technical. It's only a matter of time that someone matches his tenacious ways. I understand that Raul also can get sloppy, but I just see him as a version of Ricky Turcios, just more complete, more tight, cleaner. If they end up in an exchange, I think Raul Rosas has the more powerful, faster punches. Ricky tends to throw a lot as well, but I just feel like he doesn't have power in his punches, and it's just like windmills almost. Now, when it comes down to the ground, Ricky Turcios does seem to have his game down a little better, but Raul Rosas is just like an explosion of energy. On this one, it has Fight of the Night written all over it. This is Fight of the Night. I just think that Ricky Turcios, even though he gets sloppy and chaotic, I think he's going to be able to outlast Raul Rosas. I see Ricky winning a decision. All right, for our fifth fight, we go to the light heavyweight division and our co-main event. Dominic Reyes versus Dustin Jacoby. Guys, I just honestly think this is a terrible matchup for Dominic Reyes. They're putting him up against a pretty well-known, pretty well-accomplished kickboxer in Dustin Jacoby. After seeing Dominic Reyes get blasted, get brutally KO'd and sent into the Shadow Realm a few times over, this is just not a good fight for him. Dustin Jacoby is a former Glory kickboxing athlete. In his fights, I do notice that Dustin Jacoby tends to keep his hands down, but he has a nice jab. Seeing that Dominic Reyes has gotten brutally KO'd with a jab, this is just not good news for Dominic Reyes. And not to mention that Dustin Jacoby has one of those jabs that's actually damaging. He's not flicking out the jab just to give you something to look at or to distract. I have a good feeling that this is it for Dominic Reyes. We are going to see the end of Dominic Reyes. He is going to get brutally KO'd again, if not TKO'd. Dustin just has the tools that are difficult for Dominic Cruz to overcome. TKO round 2, Dustin Jacoby winner. For our sixth bout and our main event, we go to the middleweight division. Jared Cannonier versus Nassourdine Imavov. Two strikers. What a fun main event this is gonna be. And we got two completely different styles of striking. You have Cannonier, who slowly stalks forward and just explodes. Maybe he doesn't throw too many combinations, but just explodes with brutal power and incredible speed. And Nassourdine Imavov is quite the opposite. Someone that likes to go forward and throw volume and clean strikes down the pipe, front teep kicks. He likes to push the pace. I can't emphasize enough what a beautiful clash of striking styles that we are gonna see Saturday night. Cannonier is in his 40s, so some might see that as a worrisome fact, but I just think Cannonier's still gonna pull it off. As I mentioned, the volume of Nassourdine and the fact that he's going to push forward is going to put him in a lot of danger, which is fine because Nassourdine can also get off on Cannonier with points. But the fact that it's going to have to be him walking into danger, it's just, you know, and for him to do it for 5 rounds against Cannonier, it's just not going to happen. I feel Cannonier will catch him eventually, and we're going to see a TKO victory on Cannonier for Cannonier in the later rounds.